What's going on, guys? Carmine here, and normally I do a Q&A about now, but after looking over your questions, most of you were asking about the Night King and how he possibly planned for everything to happen. Is this possible? Did he keep certain people alive and allow them to enter beyond the wall just to have Jon Snow come there, take a white, get trapped, so that Dany would come to save him just to capture a dragon? Well, probably. It really is the only explanation here, and I hope it is the case, because otherwise those random things that made no sense will just amount to incompetence on the showrunner's part. So what is the Night King's master plan? Well, basically it explains almost all of the random decisions that a lot of us thought were dumb in episode 6, but were in fact an elaborate scheme to set up to capture a dragon. This Q&A/theory video will be centered on that. First question: how did the Night King know when Jon Snow would arrive and that Dany would be coming to save them? Well, as we saw last season, the White Walkers were created by the Children of the Forest, or so we think. They have a strong connection to weirwood trees, and if you recall, the Night King was tied up against one and forcibly transformed. Not only that, but we've seen him break Bran's connection on multiple occasions, and even touch him when he isn't physically there. So basically, what I'm coming to here is, the Night King is likely a green seer. Someone with the ability to look into the past, present, and future. That's how he saw that Jon and Dany were coming. It's also why he allowed Jon and the others to stay alive and think they were getting away. The Night King had to make it seem like they were succeeding in their plan so he could trap them for Dany to come to their rescue. He also allowed Gendry to escape. Some people were also wondering why didn't they just ride Gendry down before he got to Eastwatch, especially since they have horses. Because they needed him to deliver the message to Dany. It's also why he didn't throw those spears at the Magnificent Seven when they were on their little island on the frozen lake. The Whites aren't afraid of falling into the lake, because we see towards the end that they had to have gone underwater to attach those chains to Visceron. It also explains why the undead army is taking so damn long to invade. They're just waiting for this exact moment in time to strike. Next question: if the White Walkers have green seeing abilities, then why are they getting their butts owned by Jon Snow twice, and even Sam that one time? See, I don't think all of them do, just the Night King. And my theory here is that the children didn't really create the White Walkers, they just created him, and then he went out of his way to create more of him, like we saw with the Crasser's baby. He was the only one there to turn them, the others just stood and watched. When we saw that White Walker get defeated by Jon, all of the Whites fell to the ground except one. That could also be a trick by the Night King to make them believe, and us believe, that they all have that ability to raise the dead. So far, we haven't seen anything to back that up. Therefore, the Night King, as of right now, is the only one with the ability to raise the dead. The other White Walkers only serve as his generals and frontline commanders. It explains why all of them fell, except for that one, because the Night King allowed it to happen. Which leads us to the next question: can he just send all of his Whites up the wall to do the dirty work? He can. We've seen Whites pass through the wall before, but that is a bit tricky. The Whites we saw pass through the wall were allowed to come in and were unconscious. So can Whites climb or pass through the wall just fine? Or do they need to be allowed through by human invitation or guidance? Also, the other question is, why weren't they animated? Was it supposed to be some kind of sneak attack to cripple the Night's Watch, or was it meant as a ploy? Even though we haven't seen him talk, the Night King is likely a sentient being who can form strategies. Before, we saw him as a force of nature, something only created for one purpose: to destroy mankind based on instructions he were given during the creation process. But what if he was trying to lure the Night's Watch beyond the wall to cripple the wall's defenses? After Lord Commander Jeor Mormont led the Great Ranging party beyond the wall, Castle Black was left with only 100 men, give or take. Maybe his plan was to overwhelm the wall with numbers they can't defend against. During the assault on Castle Black by the Wildlings, only a few dozen men tried to climb the wall until the Watch used the scythe. And that helps, but it takes a while to reuse and only goes so far. Next question: why do they need a dragon if they can just overwhelm the continent with the undead army? Although it's not confirmed, my thoughts on this being that the Night King's power is greatly reduced due to the wall's magical properties. Not only does it keep them out, but it also stops much of his influence, and even though the Whites were animated on the human side of the wall, he could only maintain control of 2, maybe a few more, but likely lose connection to thousands of them should they all try to invade at once. That's why he hasn't so far. Not only that, but it's hard to control them if you can't see the enemy's battle positions and formations. It's pointless and does nothing but waste numbers. The wall needs to come down so he can join the party. The way to do that is through the dragon. It's not a magical creature, though some would argue otherwise, so it's immune to the wall's magical properties that would normally repel them. Whites are allowed to pass through to some degree, but he and the other White Walkers are not. The wall's magical properties were likely made just for them, just to keep them away. The dragon can tear it down, which is why it was needed. Why not 2 dragons? That part's a little tricky. Maybe he needed only 1. Maybe the guy's not greedy. Maybe he has a different idea or plan for Drogon and Rhaegal. Who knows? Next question, why didn't Thoros see this coming? He has visions. Another interesting thing revolves around the Hound and the Brotherhood. It's possible that the Night King is the one sending visions to everybody that can receive them. In episode 1, we see that Thoros is trying to show the Hound the message that the Lord of Light is sending to them, but what if it isn't the Lord of Light? What if it's the Night King sending out a constant vision to anybody who's listening? Kind of like his own radio broadcast. Maybe Thoros thought that it was sent by the Lord of Light, but in fact it was the Night King just sending out a whole wide signal to whoever might be trying to tune in. It's probably why he had that random white polar bear come out of nowhere who just happened to cut their numbers down a little bit and severely wound Thoros, someone who could possibly throw a wrench in his plans. Next question, but he got the dragon. Why not kill Dany as she flew away? Why let them go after you have what you want? It's possible that the Night King wants her to try and unify everyone against him. It's easier to kill all your enemies when they're gathered in front of you. Not only that, but the Night King plays a psychological game. I've said this before, but if you're staring down an undead army who don't die when they're hit in the head with an arrow, you're gonna see some morale loss amongst your soldiers. The best way to kill someone's fighting ability is to destroy a bit of their confidence before the fight. I mean, if there's no way around it, and I have to fight Bruce Lee for some reason, and I can't get out of it, I'm going to walk into that fight knowing fully well that there's a 99.9% chance I'll get karate chopped in half. Ignorance is bliss, and in a fight, if you think you stand a chance, you might fare better. Except against Bruce Lee. He'll take down like 10 Night Kings and their mothers. Next question, what does the Night King want? What is his end goal? I used to think that he was a force of nature, just following the command he was given, kind of like that one AI from iRobot who was supposed to protect people, but the way it would do so is to reduce the population or something. Maybe he's supposed to protect the land from the infestation of humanity or whatever, and the command got overridden and he's just trying to kill everyone. I think what makes the White Walkers even more terrifying is that they can't be bargained with. They likely don't have anything in mind that they want. They just want to destroy everything. Game of Thrones is about these royal families trying to kill each other for one thing, the Iron Throne. Cersei, Joffrey, Stannis, Dany, Euron, Renly, they aren't terrifying because we know what they want. They want power and complete control. The Night King, we don't know what he wants, and that is what makes him a great force to be reckoned with. So to answer your question, we don't know yet. All we know is that we have to stop it or prevent it or seal him away. This is one of those things that I hope does get explained, and only one way to do so is through Bran, but I hope it doesn't get like brushed aside, you know, because that can happen in fantasy. I will say that I hope the Walkers don't become like those cliche villains you find in video games where they want to purge humanity because humanity is a disease that must be cleansed and that ice is beautiful or something like that. I mean, George Martin is a hippie and he is very much against climate change, so maybe the Walkers are supposed to resemble climate change and we have to stop it. It's tough to say, but hopefully the reason is much more grounded than humans suck, nature is cool. And finally, how do we stop him if he can see the future? Simple. Bran. Bran has the Raven's powers so he can change the outcome of the future and cut off the Night King's victory. Bran, even with the Raven's powers, may not be as strong as the Night King in terms of green seeing ability, but he does have it, which means he can change destiny. I'll give you an example. Say you're going to fight the Night King. You're going to punch him in the face and then kick his stomach. He's already foreseen this and is ready to counter. Impossible to win, right? Wrong. If Bran comes in and tells you to change your maneuvers, you'll likely come out on top. The Night King has already foreseen the future, but what if Bran has the same access to that future that he's seen, and then maybe it can be changed instead? That's why they had to kill Bran. He is an anomaly inside the Weirwood Matrix, if you will. Bran likely stands out within the flow of time and destiny and whatnot, and the Night King probably can't predict his movements because of that, which means he is target number 1. Bran is the key to turning the tide of battle. Even against someone who has foreseen his victory, Bran can change that. But guys, let me know what you think about all of this. Did the Night King lure Jon and Dany into a trap all for a dragon, or is this theory just trying to make sense of poor writing? I understand some people who didn't like the weird decisions made during the episode were turned off a bit by it, but how would you feel if that was the intention all along? That the whole expedition was the Night King trying to lure them all out there for a dragon? Would that change your opinion of the episode, and would it have made more sense? As always, leave your thoughts down below, hit that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all next time. Baba Booey.